All right, so next about Visual Basic, the programming language. Now, I mentioned earlier that programming languages are the means for the programmer to communicate with the computer. So it's basically how uh, is the medium through which the programmer tells the computer what to do, how to implement the idea he just had to complete the project. Now, Visual Basic is just one of the many programming languages out there. Some of the most popular programming languages other than Visual Basic is C, C++, Java. Fortran is right now obsolete. It was very popular language back in the 70s and 80s, but right now there's much better languages out there. So coming back to Visual Basic, it is what is called an object-oriented programming language, meaning that it the language is focused around objects. Now, before going into more details about object-oriented programming language, I've mentioned here that um, you can either download Visual Basic as a standalone product, which is also called the Express Edition, or as a part of, or it's available as a part of Visual Studio, which other than Visual Basic also contains other programming languages like C++ and a Java-like language. Okay, so coming back to what an object-oriented programming language is, basically, as I mentioned, it's focused around objects, and it uses these objects to do the tasks or do whatever it is assigned to do. Now, what are objects? If we don't consider programming in plain English, by objects we mean stuff we can see, touch, or we can use for our own uh, purposes, like the laptop or the computer that you're looking at, the table which is it on, the chair or the bed you are sitting on. Objects. You yourself are an object. So the idea is similar. For this language revolves around objects like buttons, pictures, checkboxes, list boxes, stuff like that. So these are things which you have to design, which you um, bring all together to create your um, interface which you work with. And every object is predefined, like it has a set of characteristics which the developer of this program, the the guys who actually how wrote Visual Basic so that we can use it, they basically define certain classes, which are basically a pattern which an object is supposed to have. Now, in our day-to-day life, every object has a pattern. Like a table has four legs. Um, a car, suppose needs a engine, it needs wheels, it needs steering, it needs lights, etc., etc. A lot of things. Every human has it needs to have two arms, two legs, two eyes, one nose, etc. So these are the blueprints or stuff which a certain type of object needs to have. And that's the case for the objects in Visual Basic. So it's like a DNA of the object. So as I mentioned, you yourself in the laptop are looking at an object. The windows is an object. The buttons on the windows are objects, and these objects create the interface you're working with. So hopefully objects in class made some sense, but even if it didn't make any sense, don't worry about it. Once we get some more programming skills, once we dive into the actual programming, it will make much more sense than whatever it's making now.